If your company's AI strategy is let's just buy a bunch of subscriptions and we'll figure it out, you actually don't have an AI strategy. You're not behind yet, but here's the part nobody's saying out loud. 91% of middle market companies are using AI right now, and only 25% have actually integrated it into how they operate. The window between using AI and winning with AI is closing fast. So let me show you exactly where to focus. I run Prometheus. We've helped over 30 middle market companies, manufacturers, logistics companies, professional services, home services firms actually get ROI from AI. And about 60% of what we do is actually in manufacturing. So the exact playbook I'm about to give you is what we've used in $30,000 to $50,000 plus engagements with companies up to Fortune 500 firms and regional logistics companies that you've probably actually driven past on your interstate. So here's the first thing that I want to talk to you about. Here is why most companies feel behind, but they actually aren't. And look, this is also the most expensive misconception, so pay attention. If you're paying attention to AI right now, social media, whether it's on X or LinkedIn, it feels like everyone's already figured out AI. And let me tell you, they haven't. 98.5% of middle market leaders, C-suite folks, believe that AI has value, but only 7% have an actual company-wide strategy. The gap between we know what matters and we know what to do is enormous. Most companies aren't actually running systems. They're running experiments with prompts, with cloud services, rolling it out to a couple members in their team. There may be a finance person using ChatGPT, maybe a marketing person using Claude, maybe one person over here is using it for board prep while the other one is helping them with Excel to move fast. A sales rep may be using it to draft emails. And look, that's not adoption. That's just individualized productivity. And look, let's take a step back and compare this to 2010. Cloud computing was at 4 to 6% of enterprise adoption. CRM had 18 to 40% failures in organizations depending on the year. And the companies that won in the next decade weren't the early adopters, they were the early integrators. Recently, I sat down with a leadership team in a large manufacturing company last quarter, and their most recent AI initiative was, let's get a couple folks, 3 people, the professional or enterprise ChatGPT subscriptions and see what we're able to drive from it. That's not behind, that's actually average where folks are. They're looking at these cloud services and they don't have an organizational strategy, and it's not tied to their objectives as a business. So here's the thing, execution maturity matters more than adoption speed right now. The race isn't necessarily racing to AI, is that AI actually needs to be integrated into how the business runs. Here's the second thing. The biggest mistake businesses are making with AI right now. And look, we've seen the stat. This is why 30 to 40 billion in enterprise AI investments has produced close to zero measurable P&L impact. MIT published the study. The failure rate was around 95%. Leaders are buying tools before they've identified the actual operational bottlenecks. Technology first thinking instead of business first thinking. That MIT report calls this the Gen AI divide, and it's where most 6-figure investments go to die. Look, here's a real example. We had a logistics client come to us last year wanting to add AI into their processes. We spent the first 2 weeks not building a single thing, just mapping where their team actually was losing time. Turned out the bottleneck first wasn't AI at all. It was where documentation were trapped in various Microsoft applications like Word and spreadsheets, manual entry every step of the way. About half of the manual sort of issues in the company, they were preventable just by solving a data layer first. In that specific example, it's not about AI, it's about how the business and the team is working through a process. Where can processes be enhanced and optimized, and then where does AI fit in the middle of that process? AI inherently doesn't fix the broken system. So before we actually wrote any line of code, in that example, we helped modernized some of their systems, leveraging their existing investments, but how can we help them use those things better in a more digital first native way? And once data was structured and the systems were enhanced, now AI had actually something to work with. So in this example, the single decision to focus first on what the business was trying to accomplish and the existing processes allowed real return, real enhancements, real efficiencies for the team so that those hours could be delegated elsewhere. AI should be solving for operational throughput, sales velocity, customer support resolution time, reporting friction, process enhancement, process efficiency, knowledge access. It should not be chasing the latest demo that you saw on LinkedIn or on X. Quick aside, before I move to point 3, if you actually want this operational diagnostic that we've used to help companies, it's free, no email gate, just download it. The 4 questions in this system have helped more AI projects be killed before they've been started, which is honestly the real outcome. How do you improve as a business? And maybe AI is a part of it. Point number 3, the 3 levels of AI adoption. And this is the framework that we work on with CEOs in our early conversations around AI to help both individual and organizational transformation. Because if you actually self-diagnose where you are, then it can help you get more work done, leveraging tools. First, personal productivity. Examples of this can be note summaries, drafting emails, meeting prep, quick research, but honestly automating it to where you don't actually have to prompt to make that happen. And look, this is where a lot of middle market companies are. They know it's possible and some have tried it. But then how do you make sure that this is an organizational-wide individual strategy? And again, back to that MIT report that I talked about, this is where around 91% of most middle market companies are. They haven't necessarily integrated it, but they have sort of individual point solutions to help with small inefficiencies. If you're here, great. How can you level up? If you're not here, know that this is the table stakes of where you need to be currently. Level 2, team enablement. Look, this is where prompts, skills, internal ways of working and processes are shared, democratized, and integrated into your SOPs so that there's real assistance with AI in your workflows that the whole team in each department gets to take advantage of. We had a professional service firm that we helped build a shared engine for their marketing collateral. And this is something that the entire team draws from. This isn't just something that we build and leverage on our own to help the firm. No, we build it, they draw from it, the whole team benefits. This is level 2. It's team enablement, team access, team use cases that drives efficiency for multiple folks. That's where real exponentiality actually occurs. And here's level 3, organizational transformation. And here's what I mean by that. This is where AI is inherently embedded into operations. AI workflows, agents, real integrations, real integrated reporting, workflows that are turned over time. We've had a manufacturing client that we've worked with where we didn't just hand them over a chatbot to help their team. We rebuilt how an entire process actually worked. An entire flow, an entire system, how teams function in their process, and it integrates into their data foundation where AI is capturing multimodal types of content along the way, conversations, pictures, chat. That data is transformed and integrated in a way that both operations, finance, and sales get to benefit from. This is transformation and operational design. Real return, real efficiency, and new data that the executive team never had access to. But the trap that most leaders fall into is that thinking they're at level 3, but they've only really reached level 1. Most companies say that they're in an ideal state, but a lot of times they just don't know what's possible. You're experimenting with transformation, but you're not really driving transformation. Sometimes you just have to know where other people are to know what you need to start doing with your tools and where you need help to drive transformation in your business. Point number 4, where businesses should actually start. What I'm about to give you is the short list that I'd hand over to a friend or a colleague, and one that I actually did is running a $20 million business, and he really wanted to know where they should start tomorrow. Here's the order. Start with the repetitive high volume tasks. Ask your people what is repetitive, what are they doing a lot, what does it sort of stop them from moving into like sort of the knowledge level of work, where's their reporting friction, where are their communications efficiencies. It's boring, but this is where real return lives. And this is what the MIT data actually found, that the biggest ROI hides in back office automation. Start there. This isn't the flashy stuff, but this is where you're able to really drive efficiencies in your business. So here's some examples of where we've seen real return in the first 90 days. This is automatic data pulls into formats that the team needs to use for various operational, reporting, and financial decisions. Proposal generation. This is something that our agency uses where conversation into proposal, leveraging templates is just an automatic component of how we work. Onboarding systems, turning 30 plus years of subject matter expertise into an onboarding system for new team members to have access to the right data and know what they need to be doing in their job descriptions. And here's what we mean by back office. What would it look like for your team to maybe handling customer service calls or handling documentation in your platforms, for that data to be automatically created for them that they can review, put in their systems in a way that gives you objective data versus manual entry? That's where real firms are seeing return immediately, because it's better data, faster in the systems that you need, and then you can build more systems to report on all of that new foundation that you've just created. Finally, point number 5. What does winning with AI actually look like? And here's what we're about to talk about. This is what an AI mature business actually looks like, not a demo version, the real version. And this is things that honestly most leadership teams have never seen. For a professional service firm, this is what this looks like. We cut manual data extraction from communications down to, call it 3 hours, down to 30 minutes. Honestly, it could even be faster if you took human out of the loop. But they're doing this constantly throughout the day across multiple FTEs. That time savings compounds, and all of a sudden, those 2 to 2.5 hours per employee get delegated by a weekly calculation into new efforts. And look, these are senior people. These are folks that are driving revenue for the business that had some mundane tasks that they needed to offload. The business needed it. The people needed it offloaded. Here's how AI can come in and help. Now the operational visibility is automatically created. There's less time by leadership hunting for information or following up with key team members to actually create it when they're busy. Now those folks who we save time, they're acting on that data better. It's doing it for them and also coaching them on how to access data and provide data within their own processes from a customer service perspective. This is not AI's replacement, it's AI's augmentation. The company's winning. They're not hiring humans. They're building new processes and giving new tools and new muscles for their organization that helps them scale. Just like that McKinsey quality output that we've read about, this is less time on those value tasks and creating more high value tasks within your team. So here's the thing. The companies that win over the next 2 to 3 years won't be the most technical. They'll be the ones who integrate AI into real operational behaviors first, and then the technical part gets solved over time. The integration is where projects go to die and where you need to focus first. But here's the reality. If your data is disconnected and your team has no operational clarity, AI is just going to amplify that mess faster. And this is stuff that we see all the time with our clients. The tools aren't the problem, the foundation is. So if you want help finding the 3 to 5 highest return on investment places AI can actually create leverage in your business, the first link in the description is a free audit. But more importantly, go watch the next video where I break down our full implementation system, the one we use without wasting money. Plenty of practical gems in there. See you there.